Alright, just got done paying both my bills. Now we're gonna make another tour of the town. These are friends of mine, online friends of mine who live in other states, other areas where they won't be able to, like, really ever visit this town. This is Corydon, Indiana, in Harrison County. Zip code 47112. We're getting fiber optic internet in this community right now. It's not ready to use yet, but they did start installing it. Right now they're working on the backbone of it. It's not ready for customers to use yet. I'm not sure when it will be, but I did talk to a customer a few months ago that already has the service because he paid a lot of money to get connected early. So that's why he already has a service, because the backbone is running right up right up around his road. So that's why he's already got the service. He paid extra money to get connected first before anybody else did. Alright, so trying to keep this phone in landscape mode like it should be, because people watching this on smart TVs and computers don't want to have to, like, turn their head or rotate their head just to view things properly, or whatever. I'm recording this on a smartphone, but I'm being considerate for other people who are going to be watching this on something other than a smartphone. So, you know, not trying to be rude, but, you know, this is kind of really the proper way to do it. I remember when that was a parking lot in 1999. So I'm using my turn signal, as you can see, because that's what's supposed to happen when you turn or you change lanes. So you're not supposed to drive while recording or using your phone, so that I'm in violation of. That's where I just pay my bills there, and that's where I pay one of my other bills over there. I'm doing lots of other stuff right, so I'm gonna record some videos when it's like using my turn signal again, stopping at the stoplight, not going through it, not sitting at a green light. That used to be now. Okay, now I gotta go. The light just turned green. So see, I can still drive properly while recording videos. I can still use turn signals, pay attention to traffic. There's Frontier. It's a telephone company. Turn signal once again. This used to be Allstott's Ace Hardware for pretty much all my life, except for in this year of 2017. So I'm going to the new park here in Corydon, Indiana, zip code 47112. So I got to go in the proper place here. Got to go in the end place. And right here, right where I'm sitting at, used to be the laundromat. Back in the 1980s and the 1990s. I think the last time I've been in there was 2010 or 2011. Alright. And we're going to turn off the vehicle. There's a new kind of gazebo, or I don't know if it's going to be a pavilion or what. Just so you know who I am, my name is Christian Noggle, and right now I'm dressed in my character as the manager, the store manager from Computing Paradise. It's going to be for the Adventures in Customer Service kind of educational skit comedy series. The YouTube channel is Megapet Productions. So Megapet Productions is kind of like the company or the organization. Adventures in Customer Service is going to be the name of the show, and Computing Paradise is going to be the name of the fictional computer shop, or it might become semi-fictional because I might actually really do the land party catering, and I might actually really do work on Raspberry Pis and things like that. But I don't really want to work on people's computers in real life, and I don't want to do VHS to DVD conversion. That part is definitely going to be the fiction part. So anyway, I'm going to swing the camera around. So this used to be Jim's Arcade back in 1993. That's where it moved to before it went out of business. Right here used to be the laundromat, red brick building. I think I got some pictures of it somewhere. I remember going in there when I was a kid. This is the new Bicentennial Park in Corydon, Indiana. I like living here. I mean, the weather is kind of disappointing, but yeah, the scenery's not bad. So here in a historic downtown Corydon, Indiana. So I guess I'm going to end up putting this town even more on the map than it already is. James Best already put it on the map. He's the actor who played Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane in Dukes of Hazzard back in the late 1970s and up to the mid-1980s. So here's a plaque that they just made for this place here. So this is a pavilion. Yeah, not bad. Oh wow, they got electricity in there. They're building some nice structures around here. So what do we got up here? Is this looks like is that a sound system? Kind of looks like it is, because I'm not sure. They might put lighting in here, but these might actually be. No, I think that is lighting up there. So now I see the LEDs. Thought they're going to do like a sound system in here like they do at another kind of pavilion or gazebo in this town. So there's one of the creeks here. Now this used to be the Silver Dollar Tavern back in the 1980s and the 1990s. So if you ever look at some old historic pictures of Corydon, Indiana. So I'm going to check traffic. Oh, here comes the vehicle. Oh, by the way, there used to be railroad tracks here a long time ago. Actually, you can still see one of them right there. The other one's on the other side, right there. But you see this this light blue feed mill place. In some of the earliest pictures of this town, Corydon, or Corydon as people call it, that's in there. The building's at least 100 years old, so a lot of this area has changed, but you can always notice that building there, that light blue building, very distinct. That's a new farmer's market location. So we're going to go back over here to Bicentennial Park. A lot of this area is kind of new. This all was parking lot even just a year ago. 6 months ago they were working on converting it over to a park. Right now, today is September 20th, 2017. It's a very important day to me. Throughout the years, September 20th, which is today, has been a day in which I, ever since 1993, September 20th has been a day which I always do some sightseeing and photography. So it's a very important day to me. It is, so in 1993, I believe it was on September 20th, when my grandpa took, my grandpa on my mom's side, Charles Lawton, took me and my mom and my sister and all of us to the Ohio River area, around Leavenworth, Fredonia, and showed us some the bend in the river known as was it Horseshoe Bend, and then showing us another place known as Schooner Point or Artist Point. I love that place. I've taken so many pictures of that. That was, I believe, on September 20th, 1993. So, around that time, 5 years later, in 1998, I went around to the same place and took some pictures. So a few more years later, on several occasions, I took more pictures. So this time today I'm doing Corydon, Indiana. I might do, if I would have had this planned, I would have done that same area again. This, up until last year, or even earlier this year, was a machine shop. They had lots of cylinder heads and engine parts and carburetors just laying around in there. It was known as Old Capitol Motors. So we have the torch of Indiana on there. That building, they're renovating it, working on it. Now, in 1998, right over here, this was still Red Wing, Timberlake Red Wing Shoes. And it was also a coffee shop. And then the parking lot started right back here for that. So there was a little yard. This building burnt down in the late part of 2001. And there was a man who died in the fire. I met him. He actually sold me a graphics card about a year and a half before he died. So this is Moss Optometry. This was, I think that's a theater, one of the theaters, or was the building that was right here. Right in this area where we were is a theater where they used to play one of James Best's movies. So one of my favorite places, this used to be Jim's Arcade 25 years ago in 1992. I'm assuming the owner of the place was named Jim. This is a Art Deco building from the 1920s. I've taken other pictures of it. There's a plaque. I've made other videos about this. But anyway, it was Jim's Arcade, but in the last 10 or 15 years, it's been Harmony and Health. It may have actually been Harmony and Health for longer than that. It may have been that for like 20 years. So either this was the theater, or I'm gonna have to look at the pictures again, or it was maybe over there. But nice place. Let's see. So we're in downtown Corydon, Indiana. I'll show you a little bit more different stuff. So here's some of the plaques they got there. So that's this building right here. The Picker's Nest. There are so many antique stores in this town. I think it was about a year or two ago. You could stand just right over there near Walnut Street and be within eyesight of like 4 or 5 antique stores. Let's see. So that's the new location of the Zimmerman. Ah, that hurts my ears. So that's the new location, the current location of the Zimmerman Art Glass Factory. Really good job they do there. Alright. So, this used to be an office building, well, like an office supply building back during my childhood. I'm going to go back over here and we'll get a video of butt drugs. So they're renovating this old building. Part of it collapsed in, I think, 2004. This is an old block of buildings. Daryl Conrad owned this building until he died, either early this year or I think it was sometime last year in 2016, I think, when he died. Yeah, this is where the building was, where the Red Wing, right here, where the Red Wing shoes store and the coffee shop was. So this actually, even just a year ago, was the entrance, and this was all public parking for years during my lifetime. So the first 36 or almost 30, for the first 36 years of my life, of course I'm 37 right now. First 36 years of my life this was a parking lot, public parking. There used to be sidewalks going right up along here, and they had parking meters there whenever I was a kid. So as you can see, where I live is apparently the traffic capital of planet Earth. So downtown businesses are starting to come back, but they have they really died out and moved just a couple miles north of here. So you still see some of the ironwork for these buildings. This was, I think my grandpa said this was the Greasy Spoon back in the 1930s and the 1940s. This building here, I've been in there several times, but they're renovating it. I'm glad they're not tearing down the building. And then this is one of the 4 Edward Jones locations we have within 2 miles of each other in Corydon. So there are 4 Edward Jones locations, and all of them are within 2 miles or less of each other. So this was Royal Computer Solutions back in 1998 and 1999. So they're renovating this building too. This was a bank up until I think 2011 or at least 2010. I remember that was a dry goods store that I went to whenever I was a kid. Albans Jewelers has been there my whole lifetime, even back before I was born. I was born in 1980, by the way. These businesses have been several different things back through the decades, but here we go, the crown jewel that everybody knows Corydon for, butt drugs. So I've been in here several times. This is a great place. Very much nostalgia. So it went many years without any changes to it. Then it started changing in the last 5 years, or even 6 years since 2011. So yeah, here's yeah. So that used to be I guess a JC food store, because you can see the recessed door right in there, which is this one here. The recessed doorway. It's really awesome. Sandstone building was an old post office. And Nathan Blank owns this building on over through this building here. He does a really good job apparently at managing businesses, because his business just grows by the year. I mean, he just adds new stuff almost monthly. Always plenty of people in there. He has restaurants. He started out making he started out selling wine and alcohol making supplies. So he would start out as a brewery, like brewing alcoholic beverages, and he still does. He does a great job. I've known him for years, and just in case nobody else tells you, he looks a lot like Brent Spiner. That's who Nathan Blank looks like. That's one of the inside jokes. Is he was, a cast member for Star Trek, the Next Generation. He does look like him. This here is Shifter's Vapors, a vapor shop owned by Chris Lee. Apparently he does a good job. A lot of people like his place. Here's the public library there. I'm going to go ahead and do proper etiquette and press the button. Okay. Yeah, it's gonna let us walk. So this was Jock's Lunch from the late 1940s all through the 1950s on up to the early 2000s. Oh, great copper pipe. Decorative. So, yeah, here we go. Here's Point Blank. He just keeps adding, and here's his kitchen for his restaurant. So this is where he makes the alcoholic beverages. That's where he makes the food. That's where he serves it, right over there. And this is like his event hall where people come there and like social events or something. I've been in there a couple times. Albin's Jewelers, locally owned and operated jewelry shop. I remember this building. I love this building inside. It's great. I saw, actually, tell you what, back in the spring of 2006, this was Morgan's Raid. And I bought my Mattel Electronics and television from there. And a bunch of games. It was a great place. Short-lived, unfortunately, like, like many of these places do. But it's still great. And then it moved over here later. But it's awesome, though. Good thing they're not tearing down these buildings. I've been up in there before, back in the 1990s. It was a shop that sold, like, baseball cards and stuff. So, I'll show you where I used to live back in the spring and early summer of 2010, and it was right up in there. Actually, it was that window and that window was the apartment that I lived in with my first girlfriend back in 2010, the mother of my kids. Then, right over here, this red building, for all of my life, was Harper's Barbershop. It was a great place. Like nothing had changed about it at all until like 2017, whenever they took it out of business. It was that way my whole life. So over here, in the late 1980s and early 1990s, they used to sell like fool's gold and agate and things like that, so like little gifts and souvenirs. So now we're on Beaver Street, and then there's Elm Street right there. Yeah, it actually is called Elm Street. I'll show you. So Elm Street and then Beaver Street. But yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street. I remember they used to work on Nintendo game consoles back in the early 1990s right in there. So this was the original state capital of Indiana. So this town right here, Corydon. So you see these bricks? The road used to be a brick road here. Yeah, this used to be a brick road. You can see the original brick. And then you see where they covered it up with pavement. Back whenever I was a kid in the 1980s, it was still a brick road. I think they did the pavement in the 1990s. So there's Conrad Music Store. I think it's still in business. It's been in business my whole life. So now we're on the back side of this building there. There's Albin Jewelers again. There's Arlston's, which was a dry goods store. So here's the original state capitol building of Indiana in the early 1800s. There we go. Oh yeah, here, look at the map. The Constitutional Elm, where the Indiana State Constitution was first written. So there's Walnut Street, where I was earlier. Here's where we are right here on Beaver Street. There's Elm Street just right over there. Even out in the park. Yeah, it's about time somebody has some guts. So there's a Point Blank Brewery. The seller on the square, he's still got the sign. And that used to be actually right over there in that gray building, in the bottom of the gray building there, the bottom floor. So as we see here in September, the leaves are starting to fall from the trees, but there's still plenty of greenery here. This has all been redone here in the last 2 years. So that used to be Davis Drugs downstairs there whenever I was a kid. Yeah, Beaver Street Tap Room is that place now. It was great. So this is the back side of the buildings earlier. There's still the same Point Blank Brewery there, the same Alban Jewelers. There's the public library again. And so we got our strip malls there. So there's the old Indiana State Capitol sign there. It says Indiana Capitol. The capital of Indiana Territory was moved to Corydon from Vincennes in 1813. This building became the first state capitol in 1816. Offices were moved to Indianapolis in 1825. So this was the first state capitol for, about 8 or 9 years, Up in the top of that building there, beyond that tree, is WOCC radio station. So yeah, Corydon has a local radio station. And then here's the courthouse building right there. And this used to be a jail during much of my lifetime, the first half of my life. And then they still got the whipping post out there from like 200 years ago or whatever. So yeah, they cut down the trees. I think it was this year. They put up this new lighting this year in 2017. But yeah, there's that whipping post from like the 1800s. There's that plaque actually tells about it. So there's the Corydon Democrat, which is the local newspaper. So this is the courthouse building built in what year was it built? It actually tells. Well, here's the historic site for the Battle of Corydon. So July 9th, 1863, General John Hunt Morgan and his raiders came through here, and they had a historic battle here in Corydon during the Civil War. Now right over there is Emery's Ice Cream. It's owned and operated by Kevin Paul, who also sells insurance right next to it. This was Donahue's. It was like a cafe during much of my lifetime, and ever since before I was born. But yeah, there's Emery's Ice Cream right over there. That's a great place. I might have to go in there soon. It's still hot outside. But yeah. So this is the this is the area where I've lived pretty much my entire life. So I'm going to end this video now, and that concludes our tour of historic Corydon, Indiana. And just to let you know, my name is Christian Noggle, and I am the store manager here at Computing Paradise, here in this town of Corydon, Indiana. And I hope you enjoy watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.